Hello everybody and welcome back to another review. You've seen the title, you've seen the thumbnail, so you already know that I'm about to review Alita, Battle Angel, which is such a nice name. Alita. I kind of want to name my first daughter Alita. I wonder if I can get away with that. We'll see. Before I start today's video, I want to have a little bit of a rant, so if you don't want to hear it, do what you have the privilege of doing, which is skipping ahead to the actual review. So I went last night to see the advanced screening, or at least advanced by Australia standards, to the advanced screening of Alita Battle Angel. And aside from having a few mess ups with forgetting that I'm about to see a 3D movie and forgetting to go get 3D goggles, which I managed to go and do, but a woman brought her baby to this movie. And I'm not talking about toddler, I mean she brought her newborn freaking baby to a 3D advanced screening of a movie that I frankly do not think any person under the age of 12 should be watching. Not even with parental supervision, I just don't. I'm sorry, I'm completely sympathetic. You are a parent, you don't get to get out much or do much because you are completely busy being a parent, but if you have a child, that's kind of how it works. That's the deal. That's the job you signed up for. You don't have a life anymore. Your job is to be completely committed to your child, and if you're not doing that, you're a bad parent. Why would you take a newborn baby to a movie? You can't focus on the movie because you're going to be too busy trying to tend to your child and try to stop your child from screaming, which the child was doing. Not a lot, but there were several times during the movie that baby started crying, and you know that mom was trying her hardest to stop that baby from crying. But either get someone to watch your child or don't go. Why? I understand you really want to go and have a life, and that's completely valid, but I don't think a cinema of over 300 people should have to suffer and be forced to not enjoy their movie because you were that determined to have a good time at everybody else's expense. I don't think it's fair. I think it's completely ridiculous. I mean, it's not even like the child can freaking enjoy it. They can barely hold their own head up. It's completely ridiculous. It does nothing but disrupt other people. You, like I said, you as the parent can't enjoy the movie, and it's in 3D. I mean, of all times to pick, you could have picked a session. The movie comes out officially next week, so you could have picked a morning session, a really late session, a session where there aren't going to be a lot of people around, so you're not likely to disturb anyone. You could have done that, but you picked a 7 p.m. session on a Saturday night that is a 3D, not by choice, but 3D advanced screening. That's a whole new level of stupid, and I'm sorry, but whoever you are, in my opinion, that was really selfish. Don't do it. There were a large number of parents who were taking their children, and in this case, I do mean kids definitely under the age of 10 to see this movie. And aside from the fact that based on the rating, don't go taking children to see this movie because the rating says no. But even with a parent, you know, the first half of the movie seems kind of like it's, you know, there wouldn't be a big deal. But by the time we kind of get to the half mark, you know, it gets a little bit savage. You know, people get murdered and there's a fair bit of cussing going on. I just don't think parents should be taking their little tiny children to see this particular movie. Frankly, if there is a movie that is based on a manga series, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't take them to see anything that's based on anything that came out of Japan. That's no. So that's my ranting done. Just wanted to get that out there. Anytime I rant, it's about people doing dumb shit at the movies because I'm paying my money, you know, and I'm not disrupting anybody. So please do not disrupt me. Because the next person who does that, and there have been a few of them, the next one who does it is going to cop the brunt of all the other shit I've had to put up with from other people. And I feel sorry for whoever that is, but it's gonna happen. Until then, I'm done. And I will now get on with the review. Alita Battle Angel is a 2019 American cyberpunk action film based on Yukito Kishiro's manga series Gundam, also known as Battle Angel Alita, directed by Robert Rodriguez from a screenplay by James Cameron and Leita Cologridis. A deactivated female cyborg is revived but cannot remember anything of her past life and goes on a quest to find out who she is. Folks, I smell a sequel in my future and I ain't even mad about it. I was fortunate enough to, as I said, attend the advanced screening for Alita Battle Angel. Unfortunately, the screening was in 3D only. Typically, if I am given a choice between 2D and 3D, I always choose 2D because 3D tends to give me a splitting headache and I find it very hard to keep up with all that is going on the screen. For me, this is the first time I can say I found a film that works so perfectly in 3D and didn't make me feel like my head was splitting in two. The effects lent themselves to the art of 3D so perfectly that it was all quite seamless, so much so that I didn't find it overwhelming. I wasn't struggling to take in all of the visuals. In this case, they have made sure that only what needs adjusting is adjusted, and so my eyes know what to focus on much easier. With visual work of this caliber, it can be daunting how much you'll have to absorb, so I appreciate camera work that helps tell me where to focus my attention. The level of work that has gone into the visuals of this film was incredible and it all felt real. While I am completely aware I am watching a film where most of the elements in it were generated on a computer, the way it was done looked very realistic. The camera and computer were able to capture the expressions of the actors, such as Rosa Salazar, who plays Alita, so well they looked and felt like real people. Rosa put so much into her performance that it came through so strongly in the CGI and created a level of emotion exhibited by the character that I have never seen portrayed in a CGI character before. There have been characters such as this for years, but none that capture the actor's expressions so strongly as this. It truly blew me away. The effects were so incredible I could tell one of the cyborgs was portrayed by Michelle Rodriguez, based not on just recognizing her voice, but by how well the camera captured expressions that are unique to her. There are ways a computer moves and ways a person moves, and the way they were able to make Alita's face move was so identical to Rosa that it was hard to see the character as unreal. I think the cast does a terrific job, but Rosa is without a doubt the standout. What she brought to the character and the overall story was so perfect and moving. I shed several tears throughout the film. It takes tremendous talent to convey what she did and have it translate so well into what we all ended up seeing. I think some of our characters were highly underutilized, however, such as Shirin, played by Jennifer Connelly, and even Victor, played by Mahershala Ali. Although, to Mahershala's credit, I do think he gave a great performance that deserves some recognition due to the fact he had to play two vastly different characters. I felt he transitioned from one role to the other effortlessly and was able to show us two distinct characters, so props to that. But nevertheless, I would have liked to have seen more from him. Another underutilized character was Nurse Gerhardt, played by Idara Victor. Seeing as how her character works so closely with Christoph Waltz's character, Dr. Dyson Ido, it would have been great to see her included more in the story and certainly given more dialogue. Many of the characters I've just mentioned have significant ties to other characters and would have been great ways to help the audience learn about the more critical characters, but sadly weren't. There was great chemistry between Ido and Alita and Hugo, played by Kian Johnson. Both very different relationships, but both bring so much to the story and the character of Alita. They both help shape her and help her understand who she is and who she wants to be. I loved both these relationships, especially how human and relatable they were. Alita and Hugo in general had a story of their own that went in a direction that I was not at all expecting and certainly took me by surprise. I love what Kian brought to the character of Hugo, and from that, what the character was able to do for Alita. There were a surprising number of human storylines to be found in this fictional world, and they all work beautifully, but they get a little bit lost due to how saturated the plot actually is. Every character had a storyline, and some were more fleshed out than others, and sometimes the ones being fleshed out were the ones that should have been left out. While none of this stopped me from enjoying the film, I have to admit the overall story was just a tad hard to follow. The background story about the world the movie is set in and the events that led to the current timeline was skimmed over, and what was mentioned, I have to admit I found hard to follow and don't quite fully understand. I hope that if they go through with a sequel, more of that may be delved into more. I would have loved to understand Alita's background more, but if this is to be a franchise, I suppose I can again be patient, but there are other things I can't be patient about. Ido's background could have been fleshed out a lot better, since he and Sharon have a compelling story. A story of two parents who lost a child. One became cold-hearted and wanted to run, while the other set off on a path of revenge before finding a new way to heal himself. Sharon, who could have been used more, at least had a full circle moment. She had grown, she had understood the error of her ways, and I think had come to a place of healing. While this was subtle, it was there and I quite liked it. Ido is healing by taking care of Alita the way he couldn't take care of his daughter, and I think it's such a beautiful aspect of the film. Vector had a story, but I'm not 100% clear on what it was. As someone who was meant to be the villain, he didn't come off as menacing or intimidating at all. Had they done more with him or explained his motives, that might have helped. Various cyborgs have their own stories and motivations, such as Gruishka and Zapan, and Zapan's was one of the stories I didn't feel was necessary. We already had 50 things going on and 20 different bad guys. We did not need this one too. Having said that, Ed Skrein, well, however you pronounce his name, does a great job with the character. However, I found his performance painfully predictable. Skrein is not new to playing a villain. While I can't say if that's a personal choice of his or he's just unfortunately being pigeonholed in the role, he does play villains very well, but here's the problem. While his performances are great, they are all the same. There are no discernible differences between any of his villainous characters. For example, if you were to place Zapan side by side with Francis from Deadpool, the performances would be 100% identical. The only way to tell them apart would be the apparent special effects. Because he plays all his villains the same is why I found his performance so predictable. Good, but predictable. Ultimately, I truly love this film, and I love how much I enjoyed it in 3D. I was not expecting that. Had the plot just been a bit more refined and they marked out a clear path of where the story was going instead of trying to throw in everything but the kitchen sink, I think this film would have been a slam dunk. Nevertheless, I still found it quite brilliant. I love the characters, I found the effects to be outstanding, and I love the world that they built, and it's clear the film sets itself up for a sequel, which I am not against. But perhaps that worked against the film had they focused more on just telling this story and not so blatantly setting the film up for a sequel. Things may have gone smoother. But this is a great many if-only moments, and while all are true, they don't lower my enjoyment. A brilliant film, and after they revealed the actor at the end playing evil mastermind Nova, my jaw was on the floor, and I was immediately demanding the sequel, so fingers crossed. So those are my thoughts on Alita Battle Angel. I know that there are, of the people I know who have seen it and reviewed it, I know there are some people who really enjoyed it and other people who think that, you know, the visuals are great but the story is lacking. I can't say that their opinion on that is wrong because the story does have issues. I just personally don't mind. It can definitely be a problem and a hindrance to a film if a plot throws in far too much, and I have in the past, you know, reviewed films and be like, oh my god, there's so much going on, but depending on the film, I kind of have a maximum. Say there was like 20 plot points going on, I'd be like, okay, I think I can handle that if they have a point. If they're going to be explained, if they're leading up to something, if they're setting up a sequel like Fantastic Beasts, then I'm kind of okay and I give it a pass. But if you've gotten like 50 plot points and you are not going to explain any of them and there isn't a sequel, then I'm just like, fuck you, I'm out of here. So I can understand why people have issues and why people are kind of, you know, I liked it but I don't like it. So, you know, it's one of those rare films where if you don't like this film, I completely understand why. I just happen to love it. I think James Cameron should just ditch the idea of doing more Avatar movies and just focus on doing a bit more Alita and doing it well and, you know, having clear and concise stories to tell. And yeah, no. And even if they don't do Alita, just no more Avatar, okay? Please. I can't even think of the word Avatar without thinking of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which by the way I love. That's a great animated series. But then it also makes me think of the M. Night Shyamalan version and I'm just like, ugh. So, anyway, I am done talking. Why am I still rambling on? What is with me? No caffeine! Ha ha ha! Again, haven't had caffeine in over 24 hours. I lose my mind, okay? I can't go cold turkey. It does not work. I need to slowly wean myself off, and you don't really need to hear any of this. I need to stop talking now. So I'm gonna go, I'm gonna shut up, and you're gonna go and click onto another video. I don't know. Go watch a pimple popping video. I don't know. But anyway, until the next video, bye.